explanation is it benefits him business-wise. That's A. B, he's dumb and he doesn't think about anything. That's B. So here's an example of Bruin actually making the diagonal run. He gives the ball to Terrell Malacia, he makes the diagonal run, and all Terrell has to do is hit him on this pass. Now, unfortunately, guys, I'm going to show you an example of what happens when we have possession and how bad our decision making is. Yes, at some point, as a player, as a competitor, your team is losing. You start to want to take control of the game and you start making bad decisions. A couple of days ago, we lost a big game to Bournemouth. I was hoping we would win that game and start climbing up the table, but that did not happen. We are still in 13th place, and ever since that game ended, I've been wanting to make this video. But I needed a day or two to get some footage together because I want to go in depth on what it is I'm looking for, why I think this whole thing is not working, and why I think we suck. But before we do that, what's up, YouTube? Thank you very much for joining me once again. Thank you for clicking on the video. Thank you for checking this video out. And if you're new to the channel, if you like what I do, please drop a like and subscribe. Guys, the last video did not get 100 likes, so it did not get that many views. If you're here, if you've always been with me, if you support me, drop that like right now. Let's get 100 likes at least so that this video goes around. Now, today's going to be a really good video. We're going to talk in depth on a lot of the transfer rumors and everything else. But the thing I'm most excited about is on videos in the past, I've always told you guys that I'm looking for progress. I'm looking to see the same things I used to see when I watched Sporting play. Today, I'm going to explain exactly what that is. And Diogo, if you're watching, let me know if I'm off track, man. Just leave it in the comments. Anybody who knows who Diogo is, look for his comments down below. If I'm off track, he'll let me know and he'll set me straight. I should have probably talked to you first before I made this video, but I think these are the things I see. In my opinion, these are the things that I see Ruben Amorim's Sporting team do really well, and here's how we are failing him. That's what we're going to talk about today. And if you want to just skip to that part, just go ahead and skip to that chapter, because first I have to talk about what's going on in the news. Marcus Rashford, I have to talk about it. It's there. It's on my mind. It's all I was reading on X today. Marcus Rashford, and Telegraph Ducker lets us know, James Ducker of the Telegraph, sorry, lets us know that Marcus Rashford is letting it be known that he actually does want to leave. This is a big subject that needs to be discussed because this might be how we get money in so that we can spend money and get some players in. Guys, don't hate me for saying that. Anybody who's been with me before knows I am a Marcus Rashford fan. I didn't want it to end this way. But if it has to end this way, then it needs to be done right for the club. All I care about is the club. That after this, if we lose Marcus, that we're losing him in order to advance and get better. That's all that really would make me happy. Look, if we could do that with him staying, I'd be ecstatic. But it looks like he's going to leave. So let's discuss that first. And then we're going to get right into the tactics of it all. And then I'm going to talk more about other transfer news. So I wake up this morning, Los Angeles, California time, so it's midday in England, and I find out that our manager is quoted as saying that he wants to help Marcus out, that he believes that Marcus is getting bad advice from the people he surrounds himself with, his management team and whatever else, maybe his PR team for all we know. And then a couple of hours later, we get news from the Telegraph and James Ducker saying that Marcus Rashford wants to leave. Also, we get some rumors going on coming straight out of a leaker from Carrington who's talking to some YouTubers, letting them know that Ruben Amorim wants nothing to do with Marcus Rashford. That Marcus Rashford is going to be out the door in January if they can find a buyer. So I start to think, like, what the hell is going on? This is getting a little bit chaotic. So if you think about it in business terms, if you want to do the best thing for yourself, Marcus would not be speaking like this unless he's super dumb and he doesn't think ahead. You don't speak like this unless you already have another buyer lined up. I said this in my last video that I hope he has another buyer lined up, because you don't come out in public and make these kind of statements or make it be known that you want to leave unless you already have another buyer lined up. Unless, guys, this is what I thought of today, unless he's doing it to force United to drop their asking price. He's doing it to let it be known he's sick and tired, he's not going to get any playing time, and that he's not valued that much at the club anymore, so that nobody really has to pay a high price to get him, that they can offer a lower price and still get him. I'm sorry if you heard that car just race by outside my window. Hopefully the microphone did not pick that up. But anyway, the point is this. If he's causing these, if he's stirring things up, if he's letting it be known he wants to leave, and he doesn't have another buyer lined up, or no one's interested in buying him right now, it's because they've probably let his management team know that the asking price is too high, and for that price, they're not willing to come in for Marcus unless he's willing to drop his wages significantly. So his other play would be to cause this kind of chaos and come out and say these kind of things so that he becomes even more, let's say he disgruntles his employers even more, and they're willing to part ways with him for a lot cheaper price just to get him out the door. And that way he can earn a higher wage at the next club because they won't have to pay as much as what Manchester United would want them to pay for him. That's the only thing I can come up with. Look, I might be wrong here. This is just me trying to make sense out of the situation and trying to understand how his business advisors would be advising him to do that. For what reason? What does he benefit from coming out the day after a derby win for us and spit out things like, I'm ready for a new challenge? What does he benefit from doing that? We heard that he was kicked out of training, or not kicked out, he was sent home from training because he was ill the day before. And then the next day he shows up at a kids event doing whatever it is he does for the school at kids. Now, if you're ill and you had a fever like they say that he did, you don't go to a school and possibly spread that illness around to a bunch of kids, do you? I don't know. Maybe he can't get out of those engagements, but I'm pretty sure he could if he says he's ill and he'd like to reschedule for a different day. Next thing you know, he's at this school doing this event with kids. Doesn't really look ill from the photos that I saw. And then he does this interview with Henry Winter, is it? And lets him know that he's ready for a new challenge. What does a player... This seemed planned to me. And what does a player benefit from doing this unless he's doing it to get United to drop their asking price for him so that teams pay him a high salary because they didn't have to pay that much to get him out of the club. They didn't instead of paying $60 million, they paid $30 million. If they do that, then they could afford to pay Marcus $300,000 a week. If they had to pay 60, they're probably going to tell Marcus, we're not paying you more than 150 a week, or we're not even going to bid a 60, or they just say we're not bidding 60, right? That's the only thing I can come up with, guys. I'm making this up. This isn't me. I don't know anything about this deal. All I'm trying to figure out is why. Why come out and say that? You say you love the club. You're Manchester bred, and like you've been with the club since you were 7 years old. Why come out and hurt the new manager and the club this way? Unless your advisors, who Ruben Amorim is already telling us he's getting bad advice, unless your advisors are telling you like, hey man, we need to get you to drop your price. You need to stir up some shit. Am I crazy? If I'm crazy, leave it in the comments. If there's any other logical explanation you can think of, or if you just think the man is not, there are no intentions behind it. Like he's that dumb. Because honestly, that's all the other explanation is. The explanation is it benefits him business-wise. That's A. B, he's dumb, and he doesn't think about anything. That's B. I'm not saying my theory of what he's trying to benefit from it is correct. That I don't know. But it's either A or B. Something beneficial has to come out of the fact that he did this, or something his advisors and his business partners and his managers think are going to benefit him to do this, hence why they're advising him to do this, or none of that is true, and he did it because he doesn't think ahead, and he's that dumb. It's either A or B, guys. Now, my theory as to how it benefits him might be wrong, but that's my theory, that he's trying to get his price lowered. And then we're hearing a little rumor, which I don't know if I believe or not, that Barcelona is willing to offer Ansu Fati as a part of the deal to get Marcus Rashford, because I think he does want to end up at Barcelona. There's no room for him at Real Madrid. He wants to play in Spain, and that would be Barcelona, unless Atletico Madrid want him, which I don't think he would want to go there because they don't pay that much. But Barcelona would probably pay him if they can get him for a cut price. Or at least they would tell him they'd pay him. And then once he got there, they would tell him to sign a new contract where they're going to defer his payments to the future. And then hope to God he never asked for them, and then they sell him later, as they did with, or as they try to do with Frankie de Jong, and they've done with PK, where they still owe him money. Anyways, enough about Barcelona. But that's what I think what's going on with Marcus Rashford. Again, let me know in the comments if you don't think I'm right or if I'm wrong. Now, I want to talk about the game, which is what we're going to do now. And then we're going to talk about possible other transfers, because I really think January is going to be a big month for us. And it's going to be a good segue to talk about the game first and talk about how we're need players that can do the things that we're going to say. And the things that I'm about to tell you guys is so simple. I don't even pretend to be some sort of tactico. It's just what I see. And this is what I see. So from what I see, Ruben Amorim's Sporting team, that's what I'm going to relate this to. How Ruben Amorim's Sporting team played, what I saw whenever I watched them, which wasn't that many times, but enough times to see reoccurring themes. And some simple stats that I looked up to tell us how they like to play and what he's trying to do with our team. And I can even see it trying to... Remember, I was telling you guys before, like, I'm starting to see some of Ruben Amorim's patterns come to play, but I'm still looking for something different in the final third. So that's what I'm going to base this whole discussion on right now. Stay with me here. This is going to get interesting, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, too. And if you don't agree with what I have to say after I'm done talking, leave it in the comments and tell me where I missed it, because I would love for someone to teach me something. But here's what I see. So Ruben Amorim's teams score in 3 different ways from what I saw in the Sporting team. One is crosses. Crosses. Ruben Amorim's Sporting team was averaging 20 crosses per game, so get used to seeing a lot of crosses. The problem is, though, our crossers suck at delivering crosses. So even though we're trying to cross a little more often, you can see that we stop after like 6 or 7 crosses because they're really bad. They're junk. But that's one of the things Ruben Amorim's teams do a lot of, is cross from outside. Another way they score a lot of goals is quick exchanges of passes between the 3 attacking players. So the 2 inside 10s and the striker have a quick exchange of passes. Sometimes the winger's involved and sometimes the midfielder's even involved. But usually the core is those 3 players have a quick exchange of passes. It's like they telepathically know exactly where each other is going to be. They do quick 1-2s and exchanges, and one of them breaks through and gets a shot on goal. This takes a high level of skill and understanding, prediction, and like just knowing where your teammate wants the ball and how they want the ball and what they're going to do next after they give you the ball. We're not going to talk about that today because that takes time to develop and it takes a really, really high IQ, better players. The third way that they scored a lot of goals are with a player running with the ball all the way down to the end line and making a cutback pass for someone in the middle of the box to score on. Because when you run down to the end line, the defense has to move because if your ball is farther down, deeper than them, all the defensive line is going to move all the way down because they don't want to be on the wrong side of the ball. Hence, when you cross it really hard across the goal, they end up scoring an own goal or your striker gets an easy tap in. So they're going to run down, which opens up space for a millisecond or a second right in the middle of the box by the penalty area. The cutback pass comes in there and someone has already attacked that space to score. So cutback passes, crossing, and quick exchange of passes through the attackers. Now, let's put that aside and talk about how they advance the ball forward to even create one of those 3 chances. And that's with diagonal runs. I've said this before on a past video, but I never showed you guys examples and broke it down for you. And that's what I want to break down for you today. Because I'm watching for diagonal runs when I watch our team play, and I'm seeing the worst runs ever, and I'm also not seeing enough of them. Because the diagonal runs that Ruben Amorim's Sporting team did were relentless. They were over and over again by the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. They were nonstop. They would just continuously keep happening until the ball moves into a different space, and then a different diagonal run keeps happening until you could create a chance of one of those 3 things that I said, either a good cross, a cutback pass, or it opens up space in the center where then you can put it in the center for those 3 attackers to exchange passes quickly to create a goal. We're going to look at some examples of Sporting's diagonal runs today. Let's do that right now. So here's a example of a simple diagonal run by Gyökeres so that the midfielder can pass him the ball and advance it all the way into the opponent's third. That's a simple diagonal run happening from inside to out. Most of the diagonal runs do happen from inside out, by the way. Sometimes it happens from the winger in or the outside in, but most of them are from the inside to out. That's important to remember too. So that was a simple little diagonal run to advance the ball up the sideline into the opponent's third, as I just showed you with Gyökeres. Here is the thing. Before I even show you this, I want to talk a little bit more about the game that I forgot to mention before I even get into this. So I wanted to talk about how so many people were saying that the biggest problem we had that game and the worst player, one of the worst players we had on the field that day was Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes did waste the ball. Yes, he did. He gave away the ball 28 times, which is not a little. That's a lot. But I will argue this with anybody because I watched the game 3 times now. I'll argue this with anybody. He started the game solid for a good 20 minutes, maybe even longer than that, like 25 minutes. And then as he kept growing in frustration and seeing that the team is not playing the right way or the Ruben Amorim way, he started taking the game into his own hands, which I almost don't blame him because and this is not me apologizing for Bruno Fernandes or standing up for him. This is me explaining to you what I saw happen. And also, I'm not someone who is a Bruno apologist. I do know that he had a bad game and he shouldn't have gone this route. But this is why I want you guys to understand how this happens and how other people's mistakes lead good players to start making foolish mistakes. So here's an example of Bruno actually making the diagonal run. He gives the ball to Terrell Malacia. He makes the diagonal run, and all Terrell has to do is hit him on this pass. But Terrell does not make the pass. Instead, he turns in and then has some options to pass to like Ugarte, but this remembers like, oh, whoops, I was supposed to pass up there, turns back around, so confused, and then kicks the ball out of bounds. This kid is confused, completely confused. This is a dumb amateur mistake. Dumb. Here is another example of Bruno again making the run. Terrell Malacia again not passing him the ball. Instead, he dribbles into a dangerous area and then makes a foolish pass with really bad weighting to Menu, which then turns over the ball because the pass was shit. And it wasn't to the person who had the most space in front of him, which was Bruno, after he made the diagonal run. So again, not a Bruno problem. Terrell Malacia. Now, I don't want to just pick on Terrell Malacia, and believe me, I'm not going to. I'm going to show you guys a couple other mistakes from other players on our team. But let me show you the importance of diagonal run by showing you some sporting clips first. In this first example I want to show you, it's an example of a diagonal run that doesn't even get used. In this example, the inside 10 passes to the wingback and then makes that diagonal run to the outside. Now, the wingback decides not to pass. And then the other player also makes a diagonal run because there's a space open behind the defenders. Again, I think the wingback should have passed, but it doesn't matter. The wingback decides not to pass and he crosses instead, which is another way Ruben Amorim teams play, and they get the goal. The point is this: the diagonal runs were happening whether they get used or not, and they're constant. Here's another example. In this example, it starts with one of the midfielders passing to the wingback and then making the diagonal run. He gets the ball back eventually, and then the inside 10 makes the same kind of diagonal run, and the midfielder finds him, and then he dribbles all the way to the end line and takes a shot. Again, 2 diagonal runs in a row. In this example, the wide player has the ball, and one of the inside 10s is going to make this diagonal run. The wide player chooses not to make that pass and instead dribbles inside where the space has opened up. And now Gyökeres is going to make the same kind of diagonal run, and this time the wide player actually passes him the ball. As soon as Gyökeres gains control of this ball, he's going to decide to run all the way down or dribble down to the end line to then set up a cutback pass, another one of the things Ruben Amorim teams love to do. And as soon as he starts to run to the end line, the other forward now starts to run as hard as he can because he knows what's coming to the inside post or to the front post, and he has to cut off the defender too to make sure that defender has no chance of touching the ball before him. Goal. Now, unfortunately, guys, I'm going to show you an example of what happens when we have possession and how bad our decision making is. Here's an example where Mazraoui actually has the ball, and it starts with Ahmad already giving him bad advice. And yes, I love Ahmad too, just like you guys, but the dude hasn't figured out the offense yet and how we want to run these plays. He's pointing to Delo, telling Mazraoui basically to go ahead and pass to Delo when actually he should be making a diagonal run. Now, it's okay if he decides not to because that space he's in is actually not that bad. But what happens next is Xerxes notices that Ahmad didn't make the diagonal run, so Xerxes starts to make the diagonal run. Now, Maz has an option here. He could be passing to Xerxes, or he could be feeding Ahmad in that space. And if he feeds Ahmad in that space, then Ahmad has the choice of actually one touching it to Xerxes, who's making that run before he's offside, or turn and face towards Bruno, who should also make a diagonal run right after Ahmad receives the ball. But what happens? Maz goes with the Delo option that Ahmad was pointing at before. which kind of kills the ball because it takes us into a corner where nothing can happen. So Delo turns around and passes the ball back to Maz, which is okay. It sets us back up. We can start to build again. Now, Ahmad right here should realize he should have made a diagonal run in the first place, so he should make this diagonal run right now, which he does not. If he would have made that diagonal run, Maz could have either passed to him or he could have taken the option to pass to Ugarte, who's got a little bit of space. And as soon as Ugarte receives the ball, even before he receives the ball, Mainu should notice that and start to make his own diagonal run. And then Ugarte can either choose to pass to Mainu, or that run should open up a clear lane for Ugarte to pass to Bruno, who would get in a very dangerous spot and be able to take a shot. None of these things happen, guys. None of them happen. Instead, Maz makes the cross, which is actually a pathetic cross. And there you go. That's our team. And that's why when you look at our manager's face or his assistant's face, they're probably sitting there wondering if there's any way they can get their job at Sporting back now that they just sacked their manager. There it is. Diagonal runs, guys. Diagonal runs. It's very simple. It doesn't take a genius. You just keep making diagonal runs, and then the person with the ball has to choose to either hit that guy or pass in the open space that was just created because of that run. And then if there's an opportunity for another guy to make a diagonal run after the first one goes, then the next guy makes it. It's not that hard. It really isn't that hard. It must be driving our managers nuts. Now, I understand that they keep saying that they haven't had enough time training on the pitch and they need more time. But honestly, how hard is it to get this concept? And this is why I don't blame Bruno. This is why when everybody started piling on to Bruno after the game, all I kept thinking was, well, in the beginning of the game, I kept seeing Bruno make the correct runs. And then also throughout the game, whenever Bruno had the ball and someone made that run, he gave him the ball. He passed the ball to him. I don't understand. Like, yes, at some point, as a player, as a competitor, your team is losing. You start to want to take control of the game and you start making bad decisions. That's what happens mentally. And honestly, I don't want to say I wish we had more players that were like that, but I kind of do. I kind of wish we had more players who actually knew what was supposed to happen, get frustrated when your teammates don't do it, and then go, you know what, just give me the ball and I'll try to make something happen. Because your teammates aren't getting it. They're just not getting it, guys. And it's not that even difficult, which is why I'm sure even Amorim's going like, what the fuck is wrong with these players? That's why he comes out and says like, oh, there's a confidence issue, because only a confidence issue would make sense, because as you saw with Malacia before in those examples, those were all like panicking, confusion, not understanding something as simple as that's where the ball's supposed to go, and then turning and then going, oh wait, I forgot, and then turning back and then kicking the ball out of bounds. That's a confidence issue for sure. That's confusion. That's why we say words like football IQ. This isn't even take like a genius or someone of that nature. So guys, when you're watching these games, these future games, look for this. Look for this, because this is the next step in the evolution. Are we making the right runs? We might still lose games, but at least make the right runs so that we can then learn the next step after what happens after the run, after the ball is given to you. What do you do next? You have to run to the end line and make a cutback pass, or have a quick exchange 1-2 with another forward and create a goal. Or you find a way back out to the winger who crosses it into a bunch of people who are attacking the goal. And also, if you run to the end line to make the cutback pass, people have to be ready to be running their ass off to the front post, cutting off all defenders and not giving anybody else a chance to intercept that ball. That's another thing I see sometimes. That's what Bruno gets mad at. He makes the one-time quick pass across the goal, and there's no one at the front post. Xerxes late. Højlund's late. And then we blame Bruno because he wasted a ball or he wasted a pass. Guys, he was supposed to do that. Maybe not that quickly, maybe not that sloppy, but that is the play, and that's all I'm looking for right now. Again, I sound like I'm defending Bruno. I'm not trying to defend Bruno. I'm telling you guys what the instructions I believe are. I might be wrong. If I'm wrong about these instructions, leave it in the comments. Let me know. Enlighten me, because I think those are the instructions, and that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for, because that's what I see when I watch Sporting play. It's not what I'm seeing. Guys, again, if I'm wrong, if I'm being too passionate about this, and you guys think that I'm speaking out of turn here, leave it in the comments, man. Enlighten me, honestly. I would love to watch the game and look for something else. But those are the things I'm looking for, and it starts with something as simple as diagonal runs in the final third. Now, I'm not going to talk about build-up play. That's different. I'm not saying we need diagonal runs and build-up play. Our build-up play is actually different. And we're actually okay at the build-up play for the most part. We're not bad. We're in decent shape. Sometimes it takes too long. Sometimes people take too many touches. But our build-up play is not bad. We don't have a problem getting out of our half for the most part. We do have a problem of creating chances, and that's why I'm talking about this. Guys, if you're still with me, because we still have more to talk about, but if you're still with me and you haven't hit the like button yet, guys, hit the like button, man. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you're new to the channel, click that subscribe. Help me out. Year's almost over. I want to start the new year with as many subscribers as I can, and then we'll see what happens with YouTube, because I'm really hoping YouTube starts sharing my videos. They, like the last video, they only shared with less than 15,000 people. It's pretty sad. But I think it's all based on likes, and I don't get over 100 likes. So drop a like, guys. Thank you very much. And let's talk about what we need to do now, or what I expect NEOs to do now that the transfer window is about to open. Because, man, do we need some players. We need some players. We need a striker who can hold up the ball, who we can kick the ball to when we're being pressed aggressively, like we were being pressed in the first minutes of the Spurs game. We need to be able to kick the ball forward and have a guy like Gyökeres who can bring the ball down and hold it up and wait for his teammates to get involved, and then we finally get into the, their third. We also need attackers who are better passers, better thinkers, and they move. They don't just stand in place in between the lines like you're seeing some of our players do, including Ahmad, guys. Yes, I do like Ahmad. I do believe Ahmad right now currently is our best player, so I am not here talking trash about Ahmad. But guess what? Ahmad, Menu, these people are not perfect. They make the simplest mistakes. They don't follow the simplest instructions also. So, guys, I'm sorry to say this, but they're young. So they get a pass from me too. They do get a pass from me because they're still learning their craft. Now, it's the veterans that piss me off. Like in the Spurs game, we had how many cutback passes from Delo? Delo was actually doing a good job. He was making cutback passes back to the middle, and two of those were shots by Eriksson. One of them was by Anthony, and neither one of them hit the target. All three of them hit either the first defender in front of them or hit it right at the goalkeeper in the center of the goal. They did not hit any of the sides of the goal, which drives me nuts when a veteran, especially someone like Eriksson who got two chances at it. But anyways, we need to bring in new attackers in this transfer window. We don't have time to wait for that one. That and the left wing back. The left wing back position needs to be solved. Now, the cool thing is we got news that Theo Hernandez is an actual possibility. I don't know how much I believe that news, but we got the Miguel Gutierrez buyback clause, release clause that's actually pretty low. We've got Theo Hernandez, who's an amazing left wing back. Amazing left wing back. I mean, top three left wing backs in the world caliber left wing back. And he's going to be on a cut price. He's not going to be as cheap as Miguel Gutierrez, but he's going to be on a cut price because he's been sitting the bench. Him and the new manager just prefers the other wing, the other left back they have. He prefers the younger guy. I forgot his name. Fonseca, I believe, is the manager's name. The manager and Theo Hernandez don't see eye to eye, let's say, and it's well known that he prefers the other left back. So for the last 2 or 3 games, Theo Hernandez has been sitting on the bench. So you've got an amazing left wing back who's not even playing, and AC Milan have no problem selling. AC Milan can't afford to let a valuable asset like that sit on the bench. They would rather sell him or play him. So they have no problem selling to bring in some money. We just have to be creative in how we structure the deal so that we can get him for less than, 45 million euros. Because they're going to ask for 60 million because he is that good. But 60 million for a 27-year-old, I don't know how I feel about that right now, especially with our finances the way it is in the FFP situation or PSR or whatever the hell it's called, the situation that we're in. I know that we can't be spending lavish amounts of money. And then there's also the Alphonso Davies meeting that's going to take place in January to see if that's even a possibility. But the fact that we're hearing about Theo Hernandez, Miguel Gutierrez, I have a feeling we're getting a hunch or a feeling that the Alphonso Davies thing might not be a reality. It might be he's truly just going to have a meeting with every team that's interested to see who's going to offer him the most money, and maybe we're not into that, or that's not something we want to entertain. I don't know. I can't wait to find out, and I hope it's all resolved within the first 10 days of January. I don't want to wait till the end of January to make these 2 transfers that I think we need. An attacking player, which, by the way, we are hearing that we're looking for Victor Osimhen to come in, which is a huge deal if Victor Osimhen comes in. Now, between Victor Osimhen and Victor Gyökeres, Who do I prefer? I prefer Gyökeres because Gyökeres knows exactly what Amorim wants. He's going to make the runs exactly the way Amorim wants them, and he's a better hold-up player than Osimhen is. Osimhen's better in the air. Osimhen is a little chaotic on the ground, but he is definitely better in the air. He's much better at getting on the end of crosses and heading in goals. Gyökeres isn't that bad at it, but Osimhen's better at it. The problem is we don't have good crossers, so it might not matter. It might not matter until we get into Theo Hernandez, who can cross the ball, but then we need another crosser on the other side. So I don't know what to tell you. But then there are those rumors about Nico Williams maybe being a possibility if Marcus Rashford does leave as a Marcus Rashford replacement. I am a huge admirer of Nico Williams. Nico Williams is lightning quick, and he's great on the ball, and I believe he can play inside and outside, and I think we were talking about Rodrigo on the last video, or maybe 2 videos ago. I was talking about how much it's a dream would be to me to bring in someone like Rodrigo. And I think Nico Williams is a very, very close second to Rodrigo. They have a lot of the same attributes, and Nico's a little bit quicker. Rodrigo's a little bit better on the ball. But they do have a lot of the same attributes, and both of them can play out wide and closer to the center, just behind the striker. I think that this would be a good move. But again, I don't know if this is just rumor bullshit or if this is real, but I do know that if you're getting rid of Marcus Rashford, you pretty much have to bring in a pretty big signing. But then again, the big signing could be Victor Osimhen. That could be the big signing that they think this is what the fans will love, and they won't be too mad at Rashford leaving. I don't know. Guys, what do you think so far? Leave it in the comments. Let me know if you're on the same track with me or if if you don't agree with me. Again, I would rather Gyökeres, but I think if we're going to go for Gyökeres, we'd have to wait till summer because Ruben promised them he wouldn't come back in the winter. But I think that Ineos doesn't play that game, and they didn't make any promises. And Ineos would probably be like, look, man, if you're either coming now, or we're moving on to Osimhen, who we can get right now because he has a release clause that Napoli would have to honor, or wherever he's playing now, I forgot. The Turkish team would have to honor, and Napoli, because Napoli has every right to sell him, even though he's on loan in Turkey. And the other thing in the news is that Napoli is actually interested in Harry Maguire. Now, Napoli bought Scott McTominay from us, and they're super happy with that deal. Scott McTominay is doing great things for the price they paid for him. They didn't pay much to get Scott McTominay, and he's outperforming his price, if you will. So they're really happy with the deal they made with us, and now they're probably looking around going like, well, Harry Maguire is probably going to be cheap because he only has 1 year left, and he's an older player. If he's willing to go to Italy and play, they probably would pay us a little bit for him, and maybe that deal, if Harry Maguire is willing to go there and play, maybe that deal can work into us getting a better deal on Osimhen, and maybe we have a good relationship with Napoli now, and that's why we're thinking about Osimhen. But Osimhen's actually a decent striker, so I'm not sitting here trying to make excuses and saying Ineos is just making a bargain deal here. Osimhen's a pretty good striker. I just wonder why Osimhen, if Gyökeres is available, unless Gyökeres really doesn't want to play for Manchester United, or Gyökeres is going to be more than 10 million more than Osimhen. I don't know. You guys let me know. What are your thoughts? Put it in the comments. What else? I think that's it for today, man. I want you guys to enjoy your holidays, your Christmas. Merry Christmas if you celebrate that. If not, happy holidays anyway. I'm going to be waiting around for our next game and looking for more diagonal runs. Guys, thank you very much for joining me today. I probably missed some things I wanted to talk about because there was so much to cover in this video. Thanks again. Drop the like. I'll see you soon. I will try to make a video, I don't know, right after the game on Thursday. Hopefully post it on Friday morning or Saturday morning for you guys to watch. Thanks again, guys. See you soon. Bye.